Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. We just wrapped up our interview with Jay Reno, CEO and founder of Hound. Anthony, what's the takeaway or two you had?
Well, I would say, to be honest, full disclosure, this podcast guest came highly recommended. And as we were prepping for it, I was like, how are maximizing points on your credit card? What does that have to do with infinite banking for investors? But for one, I commonly I say my IBC is my rewards credit card for my investing. But so a lot of our clients are using the rewards credit card, and I think we're leaving a lot of points on the table. I thought I was doing it right. I had one credit card for flights for the Southwest airline, and then I had one to stay at Marriott. Thought I was doing what maximizing. Man, am I leaving a lot on the table, and I'm not using the right cards. And he had talked about, instead of using, Pacific Airline credit cards, use one that has transferable points. And that way you can transfer them to whatever airline has the best deal. And man, that website interface was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Cam, what about any highlights from you?
Man, to be honest, I kind of had flashbacks to when I first learned about infinite banking, right? As you learn about infinite banking, my whole life, I was told that paying cash was the best option. And then infinite banking comes along and just kind of like, well, wait a second. I don't know how this game is played. And then Jay Reno comes along, right? I've got my Southwest credit card. He comes along and he shows us exactly how to do it on Hound. And I'm like, we don't have a clue on what we're doing on this reward side of it. And so I think this interview is a testament to having the right strategy can unlock thousands of dollars, either in recaptured interest or investments on the IBC side. But a specific to this one is recapturing the equivalent of thousands of dollars of travel. And so great episode, man. This is a good one. I think, as you mentioned in the episode, is that Vicky's going to be excited. I know my wife, Jessica, is going to be super excited about this. So great interview. Hope you guys find some value in this, but we interviewed Jay. Jay Reno is the founder, builder, traveler, and investor. His preferred approach to life and work is leading with curiosity and excitement. Jay and the team went on to raise $76 million of venture capital from some of the world's top investors, including Kleiner Perkins, Bain Capital Venture, Spark Capital, NEA, and others. He scaled Feather to over 150 employees and tens of millions of dollars in revenue before being acquired in 2022. And Jay has combined his passion for travel and startup to build this once-in-a-generation travel business in Hound, which is what we dive into today. Hope you enjoy it.
If you're an investor or want to be an investor and you're looking to create passive income that exceeds your monthly expenses, then this is the podcast for you. Here on the Infinite Wealth Podcast, we combine the philosophies of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, along with Nelson Nash's infinite banking concept.
Welcome to the Infinite Wealth Podcast. I'm Cameron Christensen, along with our co-host Anthony Faso. And today, guys, we are joined by Jay Reno, the CEO and founder of Hound. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cameron and Anthony, for having me. Appreciate it.
Jay, I'm excited to have you here today because you are here to tell Anthony he has been dead wrong about something that he thinks he was right about. So I'm excited to have you. Jay, for our listeners, everybody out there that thinks that they have been playing the point game right, you are here to tell them they have not. Jay, give us a little bit of background behind Hound, and then we'll dive into some questions.
Yeah, you bet. I'll give quick background on me too, just so there's some context for everybody. I'm a multi-time founder, entrepreneur. My last company was a furniture rental business called Feather that raised $75 million of venture capital from the first investors in Amazon and Google. And while building that company, we were able to put a lot of our furniture purchases on credit cards in the first 3 or 4 years. So every month we were spending almost $1 million on furniture. Now, if you know anything about, how to play the credit card points game, that you'll realize that is a lot of points that you could be earning. But as I was doing that for the first few years, I had no idea what I was doing. I was putting purchases on the wrong cards, earning very few points relative to what I could have been doing just by using the right card. And as such, did end up with a lot of points, and did end up building a company to try and help people figure out how to earn points and then redeem their points in the maximal way. So not all was lost. I did earn about 20 million points, but it could have been like 50, which would mean unlimited business class probably for the rest of my life. But, I was a bit of an idiot and realized that most people, 99% of people, have not figured this game out yet. So I built Point Hound to help the average person who has a credit card or who wants to get credit cards and likes to travel and wants to turn those points into lots of free flights, whether economy with your family or business class. We help you do all of that and completely free.
Well, that's cool, Jay. I'm looking forward to you reinforcing what Cameron said on how what I thought I was doing right, that I was doing wrong. But can you give us a breakdown of how these credit cards really work? And I know there's different points. There's airline miles, there's cash back, and then something you've enlightened me to is transferable points. Can you break those down for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's really a few different kinds of credit cards. And everybody, I would imagine, has a credit card or a debit card. What's nice about credit cards is when you swipe a credit card, you earn either cash back. So that could be 1% cash back across the board, maybe 1.5% cash back, or you can earn points. So different kinds of cards earn points. You might have a Chase Sapphire Preferred card or a Chase Sapphire Reserve card, say an Amex Gold card or an Amex Platinum. Those cards earn what we call transferable points. So when you earn points on those cards, you can do a lot of things that you want with those points. You could turn them into cash back if you wanted to. You could turn them into gift cards. Or what you can do is you can turn them into airline miles by taking your points and transferring them to airline miles. So that happens to be by far the best use of your points. And I could quickly share my screen to show you just a very simple graphic of how this works, because this is kind of like the basis for the points game. So let me quickly pull that up. I'll also tell the listeners what we're seeing here and quickly walk through it. But can everybody see my screen who is watching?
Let's see.
Yep, I got it.
Great.
Yep.
So basically, if you have, let's say, 100,000 points on a credit card, and those credit cards earn transferable points like the ones from Amex, Capital One, Citi, Chase, that we've just talked a little bit about. You can take your points. Let's say you had 100,000 points, and you can take those points and do a variety of different things with your points. Everyone can do this. You can take your 100,000 points and turn it into about $600 worth of statement credit, which is effectively like cash back to you. $600 is a lot of money. I mean, yeah. That's not anything to sneeze at, but it's the trade-off. You could get $600 of cash, which you can use to anything, or you could get about $750 worth of gift cards, say to Airbnb or whatever, Uber. You could also, inside of your bank, they give you the option to book travel. And if you do that, your 100,000 points would be worth about $1,000, let's say inside of the Amex portal. Now, all of those sound great, but if you take your points and you transfer them to an airline, let's say you wanted to book a flight from San Francisco to Europe this summer sometime, you could take your points, transfer them to an airline using our search tool that we have that's completely free. And you could get up to about $8,000 worth of economy flights or up to $14,000 worth of business class flights for that same 100,000 points. Now, it's up to you to do what you would like to do with your points. Just like it's up to you to do what you'd like with your cash. You could invest it, that makes money down the road. You could take it and spend it on a gallon of milk. You could spend $20 on a cup of milk, or you could spend $20 on a gallon, 10 gallons of milk, right? Like there's a variety of ways that you can, choose to use your cash. And the same is true with points. They're not like a throwawayable currency. So what PointHound does is it helps you earn, take your points that you earn by spending on a credit card and turn it into lots of free flights, either in economy or business.
Now, Jay, you have like 5 different options here, like get cash back, gift cards, to travel point. That all makes sense how you get a little bit more bang for your buck, as opposed to getting cash. But my question is, we have this example, 100,000 points can get 8,000 in economy flights and 14 in business class.
Yep.
Why is there such, you can get more for a more expensive ticket?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer is the airlines have excess inventory on certain flights that they are willing to discount heavily using miles or points, but not in cash. So example, I flew from San Francisco to Europe on an Air France business class flight that normally costs about $7,000. But if I went on to Air France, it would cost $7,000. If I booked through Google Flights or Kayak or whatever, it would cost about $7,000. Using points, for some reason, Air France says, hey, we have extra seats on this flight in business class. We don't want to fly the plane empty. So we're going to offer, there's 3 seats available in business class on this flight for 50,000 points or 60,000 points. Now, when you do that math, like if it's 50,000 points for a $7,000 flight, you could get 2 people on there for 10,000 points. For 100,000 points. That would be the equivalent of about $14,000 for those 2 seats. So the airline does this basically to fill butts in seats, but not change the retail price in cash. Kind of like how, the Nike store in Soho is, you go in there and you want to buy a pair of shoes, and maybe they'll charge you $250 for a nice pair of Nikes because it's a fancy storefront and it's, they can make a lot of money there. Nike also sells the same pair of shoe at an outlet center in the middle of, Ohio, in a rural place for 90% less because they want to move through the inventory. And they don't want to, tarnish the brand of Nike's shoes being worth $250 to people who are willing to come and buy them. So the airlines basically do the same thing with their seats to fill seats without tarnishing the person who would be spending $7,000 on that flight. You can now just get it basically for free using your points at way cheaper rate. We can show you some examples of how that works too, just to show you in practice.
Walk us through.
Which I think is helpful for people to kind of just see and understand, or at least hear if you're not watching. But on our screen here on pointhound.com, right on the homepage, there's this top deal search that allows you to put in, whatever search parameters you want. In this case, we have San Francisco to anywhere in Europe. And, you can select whatever dates you want. We just have June through November. So we're just looking at like, what are cheap business class flights to Europe from this summer effectively. And you can put in whatever home airports you want. You could put in the entire West Coast if you wanted to, or you could just put in your home airport. Hit fetch deals, and it will run a search between San Francisco and all major airports in Europe over the next, call it 5 months. And it will show you ways that you can find and book those flights to Europe. Here's one in November, San Francisco to London for 36,000 points. That's astronomically low. That's, if you went back to the other screen, 36,000 points is probably worth like $200 in cash back. So you can either take your 36,000 points, turn it into $200, or you can turn it into probably like a $4,000 business class flight to Europe. And when you find the flight you like, here it is. It's a Virgin Atlantic flight. And you can book this flight. It's a Virgin Atlantic flight, business class, 11 hours, 25 minutes. So it's not a short flight. And you get lie flat business class seat. You can book this flight by taking your Chase points and transferring them to Virgin Atlantic. Or if you have a Bilt card, a Citi card that earns points, or a Wells Fargo card, you can also take those points and transfer them to Virgin Atlantic to book that flight. Now, one thing you might see here is if you have Bilt, Citi, or Wells Fargo points, it's 45,000 points that you would need to transfer from your bank to Virgin Atlantic Flying Club. But if you have Chase points, Chase is running a promotion right now where if you transfer from Chase to Virgin, you only actually need to transfer 36,000 points to then book this flight in business class. And here it shows the number of seats that are left. There's 9+ seats left at this price. So what PointHound did is we built a search engine like Google or Kayak that helps you find and book these flights by searching as many permutations as you can to then surface the best and cheapest way to actually book this flight.
Jay, we can feel free to pick on me because I thought I was doing this right. I had one credit card, Southwest, like that was my airfare, and then another credit card with the Marriott. So my theory is I can fly using Southwest and I can stay with Marriott. I've already seen some issues with that, mainly being sometimes Southwest doesn't have the best deal. Like we wanted to go to Washington, D.C. Southwest didn't have a direct flight, and there was and it was cheaper on some other airlines. And also sometimes I like Marriott, but sometimes I want to stay somewhere else. But what I find interesting where we've used this a lot with our miles is for family vacations, where we're get the flights for the family, and we like to go to Cancun or Cabo. It was a nice flight, from Vegas, but those flights, what I've seen is some points inflation. It seems that a point, you can earn those points, but to execute them, it's taking more and more points to get these flights on Southwest. And I don't think I could go to Cancun. Probably round trip, I could probably go to Cancun for 36,000, but Cancun isn't that far. I mean, it's like a 4-hour flight. And I don't know if you fly in Southwest. It is not business or first class.
Yes.
Just to be clear.
100%. So two items there. I know you're in Las Vegas, so we can run a search from Las Vegas to Cancun, or you said it was Cabo, right? So Cabo, San Lucas. Yeah, this one. I'm just going to throw both of those in there. We'll do the same rough dates. We'll do economy if maybe you need like space for the family. Maybe like 4 seats or so, 5 seats. Let's try 4. Let's try 4. Run that search, and we will show you the ways that you can go from Las Vegas to Cabo. 8,000 points per person.
Whoa, per person?
Per person. Yep. 8,000 points. So you could do that. It's relatively, that's pretty inexpensive because 8,000 points is probably worth like $50, maybe less in cash. But here you're getting, maybe it's a $300-$400 flight, maybe more.
What's interesting? I mean, I hope you don't mind. I went on to Southwest and see how many points it would take, and one way is the cheapest is 9,500 points.
Yep, exactly. And so the reason why you want to spend on a card that's not an airline card is that you earn points that are transferable to about 20 different airline programs. So if you're spending on an Amex Gold or Amex Platinum or a Chase Sapphire Preferred or a Capital One Venture card or a variety of these cards that just earn points that can be transferred, you can then transfer, and the Chase cards transfer to Southwest as an example. You could just spend on that card, transfer those points over to Southwest if there's a better deal on Southwest, or transfer it over to the 19 other airlines where it might be a better, cheaper way to book this flight, right? So in this case, you might, on this flight, this one requires American points or American miles. So you would need to transfer points over to American to book that flight, or use airline miles through American that you have. So this is what's kind of interesting here, though, is if you, on the left here, you say, okay, well, I only have an Amex. Let's say I have an Amex card and a Capital One card. You can check those boxes here, and this will show you the price to book that flight using the card that you have or the card points that you have. And then this is how you can book that flight. Again, if you're spending on a Southwest card or a Delta card, then you're only earning Delta miles or Southwest miles that are not transferable. They are stuck in that airline and have to be used inside of that airline portal. So that $30,000 or 30,000 point business class flight we saw earlier, if you were swiping on your Delta card, you couldn't book that flight because you would need to transfer points to Virgin to book that flight.
Yeah.
Right? If you're swiping on your Southwest card, same thing. They're stuck in Southwest. That's why it's better to have a transferable points card. And Point Hound here also, the other thing we do aside from searching for and helping you book the flights and walking you through the steps for like booking that flight and points is actually helping you find the cards that make sense for you based on who you are, how much you spend, and what you spend on really. So we could use Anthony as an example.
So Jay, we all know Cameron spends a lot of money on his Paul Mitchell hair products.
Yes.
So is there a card that would get more points buying hair products as opposed to something else?
Yes. Well, so basically each card has its own multipliers that it gives you for specific categories. So this is the first card that's up here. So we'll just use this as an example. It's the Chase Sapphire Preferred. People have probably heard of it. When you open up that card, you get a 60,000 point bonus after you spend $5,000 in the first 3 months. So just for signing up and using it, you get 60,000 points, which we saw, 36,000 was a business class flight to Europe. A normal business class flight to Europe might be around that price too. So you could get like a business class flight to Europe or round trip flights to Mexico with your family or something like that. In this case, though, what we're talking about is how you earn points. So if you had this Chase Sapphire Preferred card, you could get 5x points on car rentals, 5x on ride sharing, 5x on airfare if booked through Chase. Or it says here 2 times points on any airfare purchased elsewhere. And so on. So our website also helps you see, how you could be earning points. You get 3x points on restaurants with this card, and 3x points on food delivery. And then what's important is if it's not those categories, it's 1 point per dollar you spend on everything else. So in Cameron's example, because you picked on him and said, he needs to get a card that's good for hair care products.
Yeah.
This is probably not the card because it earns 1 point on everything else. We don't see any, let's say, beauty section or something here. So what you would want to do is look for a card that earns points on the everything else category, or look for a card that has, a specific type of category that you want to look at here. Bonus category on the left. As you can see, there isn't one for beauty. So if there's not one specifically for, beauty or hair care or whatever, this card is fantastic because it gives you $2 or 2 points on anything. So it'd be a good card for someone who is spending a lot on things that don't fit into these, very large categories that most people would be spending on. One other thing I would say is that cards will earn a lot of points on two things especially. One is travel, and the other is food. So that could be groceries or restaurants. And you could then filter down to say, I want a card that earns, the best on restaurants, or the best on restaurants and groceries. And it will show you the cards that will earn you good points on groceries and restaurants. In this case, here's the MX Gold. It's 4 points for every dollar on groceries, and 4 points on food delivery, and 4 points on restaurants, and then 3 points on airfare, but then 1 on everything else. So this card would be good for, food and airfare. So you get this card, you spend it on food and airfare, and then maybe you get that other card we were looking at earlier, which was the Capital One Venture. Mm-hmm. And that is 2x on everything. So you can have a very simple strategy that's like, my MX Gold is great for food and airfare, and then everything else I put on this other card. And that will maximize the points I'm earning. You'd probably get 90% of the way there just by having those two cards if you spent on food, a lot of food, which most families do. So that's what we tend to recommend for most people just kind of starting out, is pairing those two cards together.
Jay, speaking of just getting started out, like, we're the same way, right? We've got a Southwest card that we use pretty much for everything. And I've seen some of these conversations before about, hey, there's some opportunities. But to be honest, I assumed it took quite a bit of time to be able to go in there and sift through all this to try to find the card that's specific for me and my family. How long would it actually take somebody to go in here and enter their data and find maybe a card or two that would be a good fit for them? What do you think?
I mean, you just saw it. Like, it took maybe 2 minutes for us to click around and find, okay, I want a card that earns on restaurants and airfare, or maybe I want a card that has just a high welcome bonus. Maybe that's what I care about right now, is just earning, 65,000 points or up. So I'm just going to open a card where I'll get a fat sign-up bonus. That might be what you care about. There are a variety of ways you can kind of, search through here and find one that's good for you. But generally what we do here, just to make it really easy, is we have the best personal cards to start with, and there are 5. So you can choose one, you could choose 2 of them. But this is just like, these are the cards that are very popular, that earn lots of points and are low annual fees generally. So that's what we tend to suggest, is kind of just pairing these simple cards, these cards up front. So it's a great way to get started.
So, Jay, what I'm hearing with this website, I'm seeing 2 main uses. One is, if we know of a destination where we want to go, we could find the cheapest way to get there using points.
Yep.
And then also there's an interface that can help us find the best card that's going to fit for us. That information sounds amazing. How much does it cost, Jay?
Well, it's completely free, actually. It sounds like an infomercial. We swear this is not an infomercial. We're trying to actually just help people understand how points work. This website is free. To use the search tool to find your flights is completely free. We will never charge you to run searches, just like Google Flights or Kayak doesn't charge you to run searches. And we don't charge you to find the right cards for you. Those 2 things you can do yourself. And yeah, we don't charge you. If you are interested in opening up a card, the credit card companies will actually pay us if you open a card through the links on our site. So we have this kind of linked up here. It helps keep our business completely free if you are interested in a card. Now, you don't have to get a card to use our site. You can use what you have or get into it slowly if you want. But if you do open a card, and you use our site and click any of these links to apply, it just takes you directly to the credit card company to open the card anyway. That's what helps support us in being completely free for folks. And at this moment, we have over 100,000 people who use us every month. Yeah.
Jay, I noticed when you were doing the search for the flights, it seemed that the window travel window was a little short, like in the next couple of months. How far can we book out? Or
yeah.
I'm also wondering, the way you're explaining that they give these deals with these points, you might get more bang for your buck if you do it closer to the flight time.
Ironically, yes. They're basically, in the points world, it's different than when you're booking a flight with cash. And I'm sure most of you have flown somewhere paying cash before. And you know that the closer you get to the date of your flight, the price tends to go up, because they know, hey, if you need this flight in the next few days or a week, you're probably willing to pay for it because you have to go wherever you're going. In points, it's the opposite. In the last few weeks, the prices will drop dramatically. So if you're searching and you have any level of flexibility, say you wanted to go San Francisco to Europe again, we can pick a date range. We could literally let's pick just the next 2 weeks and see what's available. You could even do the next week. And we'll go to anywhere in Asia, or you could pick wherever you want to go. Let's do anywhere in Asia. You can go to Hong Kong for 70,000 points, which is a very long flight. You can go to Singapore for 87,000, Bangkok, Seoul, 87,000 points, Tokyo, last minute. This is in 10 days for 95. These are all in business class too. So if you do economy, it'll obviously be substantially cheaper in points. But if we were to pick random dates, let's say in October, which is a few months out, you can see there's a few to Bangkok for 87, but then they jump very quickly to 150,000. Right? Okay. And then pretty quickly to 216,000 and 221,000, 230,000, which this is very typical. So if you have any flexibility, or you don't mind waiting until the last few weeks, booking with points to almost anywhere, you will find much better deals in the last few weeks. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're booking with points is it's good to be a little bit flexible either on the destination or on the date range that you're searching to find really, really good prices.
Jay, I had a question on the credit card side. When someone's looking for a card, is there any sort of traps or any kind of red flags that they should be looking for?
Yeah. So I wouldn't say there are any traps necessarily. The things to look for when you're opening a card are a few factors. The first, a lot of people tend to hone in on the annual fee of that card. I tend to notice it, but kind of throw it out and just really match it to what the sign-up bonus is as the first step.
Okay.
Right? So $95 for this card. When you spend on things you're going to spend on otherwise, you don't open a card to just, dump money onto it for no reason. You should always open up a card, and when you're spending on a card, pay it off in full every month. If you don't, then the credit cards, the companies will charge you interest, and that's kind of what they're hoping. What you should do is treat your credit card like a debit card and just pay it off every month. Don't spend more than you have, and just set it to auto pay at the end of each month or whenever the billing cycle is. That's probably number one in this world, is just make sure you're not running up credit card debt, because you won't win substantially if you do that. If you do that, then this whole world opens up and you can choose a card that has an annual fee that seems reasonable relative to the points that you're earning. So let's do the quick math on this. $95 annual fee, 60,000 points. Well, we saw over here that, let's say 60,000 points, we'll use 50 just as a rough equivalent, could get you, anywhere in this range, right? You could get gift cards of 375 if you really didn't want to fly, or you could get economy and business class flights of in the thousands of dollars worth of value. So just for spending $95, you get thousands of dollars of flight value. Is that worth it? I mean, I would think so. To most people, that's the math. That's the first math you do. And then if you want to look at a card that's even more expensive, like the Amex Gold, where some people look at it and say, ooh, $325 like per year, that's a lot. $325 relative to the thousands of dollars worth of flights you're going to get for signing up for this card is very valuable. And then the kicker on that is you're also earning 4 points for every dollar you spend. So I don't know, one of you guys, how much do you and your family spend on food each month? Just rough estimate. Groceries plus restaurants.
I don't know.
My wife,
but
would.
I'd probably say at least $2,000.
I was going to say 3. Yeah,
3,000.
I'd say about 3,100.
3,200 is what we spent.
3,300, I think.
34. Yeah. Well, let's make the math easy. Let's just pick 3,000. So 3,000 a month on food. 3,000 a month on food times 4 points for every dollar means 3,000 times 4 is 12,000 points that you're earning per month just on food. Now multiply that by 12 months in a year. That's 144,000 points that you're earning just by using this card for food. So 144,000 points, which we've seen the value of that, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot you can do with 144,000 points. A lot. And you also get the sign-up bonus of 60,000. So let's just say 144,000 plus your sign-up bonus. In your first year, you're earning 200,000 points just on food. That's a lot, that in this case could be worth up to, $16,000 worth of flights in economy.
Jane, I got to ask, on the sliding scale, we've been kind of down here over to the left-hand side on the small end of it. How high does this scale go? And how would someone acquire, close to what it looks like, maybe 1 million or more points?
Yeah, I mean, most people tend to not spend their points. When they have their credit card, they just sit in their credit card account and don't spend them. So a lot of people have over 100,000 just sitting there. Most people have like 100, 200, 300,000 points, honestly, just sitting there because we don't know what to do with them. They don't feel like they're worth much and they just kind of sit there and rot. Well, this tool helps you find and book flights and actually use those points for, again, our focus is on flights because that's just the best value. You can use it on whatever you'd like. We don't want to shame you for turning it into a gift card if you really don't want to book a flight with it. But if you do want to travel with these points, we recommend using either our tool or, just because it's free and helps you find flights that give you great value. Also, the easiest way to get started too is most people don't know what, like we were showing you, this flight's 75,000 in business. This is 30. This is whatever. People usually have cash in their mind, so we know what something costs in dollars, but not in points. So these emails that we help people sign up for, we send out over 1 million emails a month to folks who have signed up, and it basically just helps you see what the craziest best deals are that you could get, and they get sent to your inbox. So these emails are curated, and we're basically going out and sifting through. You throw in your home airport, the credit card or credit cards you have, and then any other factors you want to include in that. And we will send you deals to Europe or Asia or domestically or whatever you want. And we do that currently for free. We're rolling out some paid features inside of this too. But even if you want to just get started and try the free version, it helps you see what you could get, by traveling from your home airport internationally.
Is that sent out weekly or monthly?
These emails are sent either daily, or you can set the email frequency.
Oh, wow.
So you could say, I only want one a week. It's automatically set to daily because we send each of these on a given day. So we'll send a set of Asia deals to you on this day and a set of Europe deals on this day. But yeah, you can basically choose the frequency if you want.
Okay.
And it's all the same price. It's free for economy, and we're rolling out a paid version for business class.
Love it.
Yeah.
Jay, so what I'm hearing kind of next steps if somebody's listening is one is to go to pointhound, right, .com, and then figure out what credit card would be best for them. Would that be a good first step?
Yeah, I mean, find the right cards for you. If you don't have cards or you want to make sure you're earning, like we just talked about the Amex Gold card example, and being a normal family that spends $2,000 in your first year, you could get 200,000 points just by getting the Amex Gold card. That's one good way to start. And another is to just go to the site and run a few searches and see what you find for deals from where you live to anywhere you want to go.
Love it.
Yeah.
Great
Awesome.
info. Yeah, I'm going to be researching and changing my credit card approach. So I thank you. My wife thanks you, and the family will, because we might be having some. Nobody likes flying Southwest, or at least I don't. But so maybe we have me and my wife business, and then everybody else, economy, or chicken in the luggage, whatever.
Exactly. You don't tell them that I suggested that though, or they'll come after me. But you can do whatever you want.
They're listening to podcasts, so they're going to know. But
great, it was your idea. I think there are a variety of ways you can choose to use your points, and the best way is to, again, in summary, get a transferable point card, and then transfer your points to an airline using a tool like Hound to find the flights and to book the flights.
Awesome, Jay. What a great tool. Appreciate you coming on, sharing this information. We'll make sure that we put a link to Hound in the show notes, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys, for having me.
Thanks, Absolutely. Jay. Go make it a fantastic day.
Take care.
You too.
If you like this video, I know you're like this one. And if you want to learn how investors use infinite banking to increase their returns and lower their taxes, check this out. And if you have some questions and want to see if infinite banking is for you, hop on a discovery call with us. Link for that will be in the description.